Hello, my name is Sierra Grandy, and I'm on a quest to create audiovisual versions of my Substack articles. Today's article is The Quest to Run for Congress. Announcing my next quest, the quest to run for a seat in Congress. If this were a video game, imagine your character had spent the last 6 years on the following series of quests. Start the journey into mental health recovery and successfully managing chronic pain. Graduate with a bachelor's degree with the highest honors in psychology with a minor in economics. Become a regular volunteer by facilitating regular mental health support groups. Share her mental health backstory and educational insight on stages. Develop a system using gamification and positive psychology to support the mental health recovery journey. Regularly study the rules of the game, which in this case means the cultural and social rules of society, psychology and economics, and the legal rules of society, law and policy. Get into and graduate from a great law school. Train to be a qualified mediator in Minnesota. Work as a law clerk at a mid-sized law firm. Complete a master's degree in comparative and international tax law from Sweden. Take on the responsibility to be the chair or vice chair of 3 different mental health and disability councils and committees. Roles with the National Alliance on Mental Illness, NAMI, the Minnesota State Advisory Council on Mental Health, and the Minnesota Disability Bar Association. Travel around the United States, and now internationally, to teach about neurodiversity, disability, and mental health recovery. Create a small business called Questify Your Life, LLC. Take and pass the Minnesota bar exam to become an attorney, and practice by doing pro bono work, and build a dream job. But then the air shifted. A new federal administration came into power, and what once felt like background noise, simply the typical chaos of a broken system, turned into a roar. Dragons became more celebrated and normalized. Policies threatened the people I'm advocating for. Politicians openly celebrate choices that will harm and kill people. So it became harder to inspire and education people when I know that access to healthcare and other resources will likely vanish for a large population of our most vulnerable. And what's left of the middle class will likely be destroyed because they will be the ones who are most likely to have to pick up the pieces and support their communities and loved ones. Currently, harm reduction efforts are scoffed at. Autism is now weaponized in political rhetoric. And what once felt like goofy villainry is at times resembling something out of a dystopian nightmare. The fear and terror are overwhelming at times, and that's the point. If everyone feels scared and helpless, then they won't have the energy to act. So I think, what happened to representation? To people demanding that those they put in power actually show up for their people? There's a term in psychology that I've been thinking a lot about: learned helplessness. When you feel like no matter what you do, nothing will change because every time in the past that you have tried, nothing has changed. So what's the point in continuing to spend effort trying to make a change? Many people I know, myself included, at times, fall into this trap. But it's worth remembering. 1, life is about the journey, not the destination. 2, it's worth continuing to participate in this world, even when things get hard. 3, almost everything is a practiced skill. And 4, we can build a better future together. In late April this year, shortly after a brief time I spent practicing Social Security law at an advocacy firm, I reviewed my quest board and considered what quests I wanted to prioritize. After I moved around my responsibilities, written on pieces of small, ripped-up scrapbook paper, pinned on a large fabric-covered corkboard, I realized something. My quest priorities were moving beyond advocacy towards activism. I'd never seen myself as an activist before, but it felt like that was the next step on my journey. My attention turned from the study of the rules of the game and turned towards questions of who writes the rules and what are the consequences of breaking the rules? Because the rules are not working for the majority of people, and they haven't been for a long time. A mixture of being called to activism and my attention being drawn to the question of who writes the rules brought me to the conclusion of how can I help write better rules? I felt like it was necessary to go one step beyond just advocacy work. Why not try something bigger? I have no kids, a flexible schedule, an exhausting amount of ambition, a theatrical personality, and a deep drive to help. People kept telling me to focus on what you can control. And I realized I can control a political campaign. Objective. What job? What about writing better rules for local, city, or state politics? Well, while these are incredibly important positions, I know that the problems I want to help solve are coming from the federal government. Plus, I like a good story with difficult odds, and I want this to be a big enough fight to matter on a national scale. So, U.S. House of Representatives it is. The House has the power to check the executive branch and push for real harm reduction measures. It's also the position that allows for the most actual representation of constituents at the federal government level. I know even if I get that job, I cannot stop every bad policy, but I can fight to mitigate harm and represent actual people. Objective. Which district? So you technically don't have to live in the district you are running in for U.S. House Representative. A weird design flaw, in my opinion, but I'm not opposed to using a legal yet broken loophole to try to make the country I love better. This loophole is beneficial for me, and it feels sneaky to try to avoid the situation. I live in a small one-bedroom apartment in Minneapolis. It's the same apartment that I lived in when I graduated law school. I've been trying to buy a house with my spouse and move, but it's been hard to find a starter home that we can afford, especially with my income being relatively inconsistent as a small business owner. We are making good progress on that quest. Our realtor so far has been lovely, but I know where I want to live, at least which congressional district. I know where it feels like home. The only area in the state that I feel like I could truly represent the people. Plus, I've disagreed with Tom Emmer, the district's current U.S. House Representative, since before I moved out of the district to finish school. I am running as a congressional candidate for U.S. House in Minnesota's 6th congressional district. So that's the quest. Run for Congress. Start the weirdest job application process ever. Objective. Set up and launch a campaign. So here we are. The quest to run for Congress has officially begun. I'm stepping forward to show that someone like me, a neurodivergent, disabled policy nerd with a penchant for turning life into a video game analogy, can fight for a future where we all get to co-create the story. Because we live in a world where everyone is a player character. There are no chosen ones and no NPCs. Everyone you see is playing their own game and deserves, at minimum, basic human dignity. I believe in harm reduction. I believe in compassionate, accessible systems. And I believe in the power we all hold when we dare to participate fully in this world. Together. Even though I'm embarking on this new congressional quest, I am still also committed to my quest objectives related to being a speaker and advocate on mental health recovery, disability, and neurodiversity topics, as well as my quest to create content and provide services related to the Questify Your Life system. So this Substack will stay true to its roots, Questify Your Life. I use these newsletters to create a space to enjoy and celebrate turning my life and inspiring others to turn their lives into adventures. I'd love for you to follow along as I take on this new political quest. If you feel called, you can donate to my campaign and help me bring real representation to Washington. Or if you'd like to join the volunteer team, I'm sure I can find a role for you. So here's a link to my congressional campaign information. Sierra4mn.com. That's SIERRAFORMN.com. Thank you for being here. Whatever quest you are on, I'm proud of you for going on it. Sierra.